Most people who are trying to lose the belly fat make it incredibly hard on themselves. They start cutting out carbohydrates completely, doing juice cleansers, trying to be perfect and removing any kind of joy or social life. The truth is, most fat loss advice is completely outdated and unrealistic for the normal busy person. If you are a busy person, a business owner, a parent, an executive director, manager, or someone that just doesn't have the time in the day and that you're always on the go, most advice is not fit for you. So in this video, I'm going to show you how exactly you can lose the belly fat in the next 90 days whilst keeping a social life, while still being on the go with work and with whatever chaos you have coming up in your diary. And not only am I going to show you exactly how you're going to do this with the exact nutritional targets and workouts that you need to go and do, I'm going to show you how this can actually work around your life, that secret sauce that is missing from every single other training and nutritional plan out there. And I know this because I was there myself. I was the person that was 5 stone overweight. I hated my physique, hated my body, and was completely ashamed of what I had become. And not only was I in this position, I was in this position and tried every single diet, every single method to get out of it, and nothing seemed to work until I cracked the code. So I've been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, I lost 5 stone, got into shape in my life, and now I have helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other people, mainly business owners, executives, and highly driven people, do exactly the same thing. Now, over my years of coaching and working with hundreds and hundreds of people, I have come to understand that there is one main reason why people tend to fail on these fat loss plans, and that is that they are all or nothing. So what this tends to mean is these diets go completely all in. So what that might look like is those examples that I mentioned at the start, like cutting out your carbohydrates, or doing crazy fasting protocols, or maybe juice cleansers, maybe training 7, 8, 9 times per week. Or it could just look like starting calorie counting, but starting your calories way, way, way too low. Now what this does is, number one, it depends on motivation. It depends on you being in that right frame of mind to actually stick to the process. But number two, it also overhauls your life completely. So you go from being this person that's maybe eating junk food a couple of times a day to not eating junk food at all. You go from this person who's not hitting the gym to having to do 15,000 steps a day and train 7 days a week. You go from this person who has a great social life, who goes to meet your friends down the pub on a Friday, to not having any social life at all, and it completely overthrows the whole thing. What happens inevitably when life comes around and gets busy is you fall off track, you fall off plan. And then what happens? You slowly unravel. And what tends to happen then is that one weekend where you were off plan becomes the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, and all of a sudden you're back where you started. So you spend your life in this process of being on it, then being off it, on it and off it. And you lose the same 5, 10 kilos over and over and over again. And here's the thing, there's a bunch of negatives to this. You're aiming for really fast progress, but actually what you're doing is getting quick progress in the short term and then losing it quickly as well. So you always end up back at square one. Now, what that also does is it chips away at your confidence, because if you've tried things 5, 10 times and you do a different diet every now and again, you begin to think that you are the issue, that you're the problem, and that you're never going to be able to get in shape. So every time that you try something that is all in and it inevitably goes wrong, you chip away at that confidence and you say, I'm not actually able to get in shape. And then that starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy where you don't actually believe that you can get in shape, so you don't really try, and inevitably it all unravels. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make sure that it doesn't actually unravel this time. Look, fat loss is simple, and the people that are trying to sell you fat loss are going to overcomplicate it, and they're not going to tell you the actual formula. So I'm going to give you the numbers that you can go away with and actually use off the back of this, and then I'm going to give you the system to actually implement it into your life as well. So first and foremost, look, it's 2026. You probably know this by now. We need to be in a calorie deficit. What that essentially means is that we're burning more calories than we're intaking through our food and through our drinks. But how do you get there? Now, there is some complicated sums out there. There's a bunch of calorie calculators online that you can go and find it yourself. But quite simply, if you take your body weight in pounds and you multiply it by 10 to 12, you're going to find yourself in a decent calorie deficit of somewhere between 500 and 1,000 calories as an approximate. What I would do if I were in your shoes is I would start towards the 12 number. So you take your body weight in pounds, say 200 pounds, multiply that by 12, and you would start at that number of calories. If after a week of testing and genuinely accurately tracking your calories at 12 times your body weight in pounds, you haven't lost any weight, then you can reduce your calories by 150 or 200 calories to find yourself in that deficit. If you do lose weight, on that 12 times number, then you can keep that number the same until it stops working, okay? I would always start less aggressive towards the 12 times number as opposed to the 10, and then bring things down if we need to. Really importantly with this is actually tracking your calories accurately. Over my time of working with hundreds of people, I've found that not many people actually accurately track their calories. So if you think that you're tracking 2,000 calories, you could actually be consuming 2,500 if you're not careful. So it's little things like making sure that you're actually weighing your food out rather than just eyeballing it. It's also making sure that you're not having snacks that you're not tracking, you know, the bite here and there, or finishing your kid's food off, or liquid calories that you're not tracking, like the can of Coke or the latte in the morning. And look, the goal isn't to always be tracking your food. I don't personally track my food all the time, and I haven't done in years, but for that initial transformation, it gives you so much information and it helps you actually gain awareness behind the problem. So you understand what's actually in your food so you can make better decisions going forwards. Once you've got that awareness, once you've educated yourself and given yourself that information, you can come away from tracking over time. So after calories, you need to worry about protein. Quite simply, I want you to aim for 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Protein is really important in a fat loss phase. Number one, because it helps you reduce your cravings and it helps you stay fuller for longer, so it just makes dieting feel easy. When I work with a client that's come to me from eating lots of hyper palatable foods, eating maybe 3,000 calories a day, and we get them eating high protein, get them eating whole foods, they say they can't eat that much food, when in reality we drop their calories by 1,000 or so. And the reason behind that is because they're eating more protein, it's helping them stay fuller for longer, and more nutritious foods as well. Second, it's going to help gain and also preserve muscle in a fat loss phase. What we want to make sure we do in a fat loss phase is that we're losing fat and we're not losing lean tissue. So when you do lose body fat, you don't look like a deflated balloon and you actually have some shape underneath as well. And look, I understand that eating higher protein meals can feel difficult, but keep it simple to start with. Again, make sure that you're tracking your macronutrients, but make some simple swaps. If you normally have chicken thigh, swap it for chicken breast. If you normally have a fatty cut of steak, swap it for a lean cut of steak. If you normally have beef mince and a spaghetti bolognese, for example, just change it to a lean beef mince, a 5% fat beef mince. The same goes for yogurts, cheeses, all of those things that we can just reduce the fat on and it's going to increase the protein. That we do need to make sure that our healthy fats in our diet are high enough as well, and that we don't want to drop them too low, as this could have negative effects. Continuing on food, one of the things that I see people struggle with in their diet is that they just have too much processed, hyper palatable foods in their diet. And then what happens is they're not getting any nutritional value from their foods. They're feeling hungry all the time and they feel like they can't stop eating, like their appetite is always on the go. These hyper palatable foods are designed to make you want more and more and more and more, ultimately so you keep on eating and you keep on buying their product. So your rule is going to be 80% of your food is going to come from good quality whole food sources. The other 20%, 10 or 20% is going to come from wherever you like. And then a final couple of things to make your food and nutrition easy is number one, eat high volume. So one of the issues that I see is when people are dieting, they think that they have to eat like a rabbit. They have to eat really small amounts and small portions. I say the opposite. Make your portions as big as you possibly can for the amount of calories that you're using. Get the most bang for your buck. Okay, so eat high volume foods, vegetables, salads. These are things that have minimal calories, but a lot of food volume that is going to fill up your stomach and manage your hunger and make it so much easier to diet. And like I said slightly earlier in the video, just completely remove liquid calories. The reason being is because if you're in a fat loss phase and you're struggling with hunger, liquid calories coming in are not really going to fill you up at all. So move from having that normal can of Coke to a Coke Zero, move from having a normal latte to a skimmed latte, and just reduce those liquid calories that you're having. And now onto the big mistake that I see most people making. And that is, even when they think they're in a calorie deficit, they're not. Because what happens is those social occasions, those weekends, wipe out the deficit completely. So you might be in a deficit Monday through to Friday, but and then the weekend comes along and that's blowing it completely out. And I completely get it. Look, I'm a normal person as well. I enjoy going to the pub for a beer with my mates. I enjoy the food after a round of golf, and I enjoy a takeout with my wife at the weekends. But we need to do it in the right way to ensure that it's not ruining our progress, because otherwise what will happen is you feel like you're putting in so much work Monday through to Friday, and then because you're not putting it in at the weekends, you're wiping out your progress. And then you think, what's the point in even trying? I'm not making progress anyway. So here's the method that you need to follow so you can still enjoy your weekends, but make the fat loss progress that you want to. and it is called the high-low method. So if you have a calorie goal of, let's say, 15,000 per week, which would be roughly 2,200 per day, what most of you would think is I need to have 2,200 calories per day. When in reality, what happens is you have 2,200 Monday through to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday comes along and you have 3,500 or 4,000 calories a day, and it completely blows your deficit out and you don't remain in a fat loss phase. So you might have lost a kilo of body fat between Monday and Friday because you're deep in a deficit, but between Saturday and Sunday, gone into a surplus and put that kilo back on, thus leaving you in a position where you haven't made any progress. The high-low method is going to get you to that same 15,000 calorie amount, but in a way that actually works around your life. It's the same way that you work and budget your money. If I gave you £700 to spend over a week, £100 a day, you know that you're gonna have more disposable income that you need at the weekend, nightlife, things to do, being with a family rather than being at work. So you're gonna budget £200 for each day, Saturday and Sunday. So that means Monday through to Friday, you're going to have to drop the money that you spend in order to fit it in the budget. You can work your calories in the same way. So instead of just having a flat 2,200 Monday through to Sunday, what you're going to do is just drop your calories by 200 or 300 throughout the week, Monday through to Friday, or the days that you need to. And then at the weekends, you can have a few more calories. That doesn't mean you can go and do whatever the hell you want at the weekends, because ultimately we still need to make sure that it fits into your diet. However, it does give you a little bit more freedom. Still make sure that you're restricting yourselves at the weekends. One meal doesn't need to turn into a whole weekend off plan. You can still make sure that you're going to restaurants that are going to give you good choices. Most places have the calories on the menu now to make it super easy. And you can still make sure if you're going for a drink with your friends that maybe we have a couple of Spirit diet mixers instead of a couple of beers. That's the difference between 140 calories to the Spirit diet mixers and 400-500 calories to the beers. So overall, the system that you need to implement it into your life is this: simplify, don't complicate. I want to strip it all back for you because that is where the magic lies, in simplifying, not overcomplicating, okay? Let's start at the base of the pyramid. We need to get our nutrition right, our calories and our protein. That's all we need to focus on, as well as 80% of whole foods, okay? Next, you need to make sure that you're getting a good amount of activity in per day. So take your average step count over the last 7 or 14 days, add 2,000 or 3,000 to that. That's your step target that you can simply hit. Next is strength training. I want you to strength train 3 days a week, and I'm going to come on to what you want to do in a moment. And then finally, I want you to implement low friction habits. These are habits where we can just make things feel a lot easier. For example, once you're in the gym, it's not hard. It's getting in the gym that is the hard bit for most people. So put your gym trainers or your gym clothes by the door, so when you leave the door, you see them and it gives you that prompt to make sure you go in the gym. Things like meal prepping, or at least making sure that you've got the weekly shop done with healthy ingredients, so your fridge isn't packed full of hyper palatable foods like chocolate and sweets and things that are going to make you go off plan. We want to reduce the decision fatigue as much as possible. The more decisions you have to make in a day, the less likely you are going to stick to your plan. So I don't recommend having an exact meal plan that you stick to day in, day out, because that can lead to nutritional deficiencies, and it also leads into that all or nothing place we were talking about earlier. But what I do recommend is having 3, 4 or 5 options of breakfast, for lunch and for dinner. So you have a menu that you rotate round of options that you know you like, that you enjoy, and that you know are going to fit your goals. This is the easiest way to make sure that you're hitting your targets, you're eating things that you enjoy, and it's not going to get boring, tedious, and you don't have hundreds of decisions to make every single day. Okay, so let's come on to exercise. Now, most people, when they think exercise for fat loss, they think endless workouts, they think punishment, they think they have to hate the process, and they think of cardio, stepping on that treadmill every single day, sweating your tits off. Now, the reality is that's not what you need to do at all. A lot of my clients, like Chris here, like Jim here, lose the body weight from not doing cardio at all. They just do strength training. So how is that? That's because we get their nutrition right, we get their step count right, and then when they are in the gym, they're doing the right things to get really strong whilst they're losing body fat at the same time, so they can build muscle and get in shape at the same time as losing body fat. My recommendation for most really busy people is just strength training 3 times per week. Now that can look like training upper twice a week and lower once a week. That can look like full body 3 times a week. During those sessions, you want to focus on getting better at training and ultimately getting stronger and lifting with better form and execution. And you want to focus on really giving it intensity. So instead of being there and half-arsing it and scrolling through on your phone in between sets, I want you to be really present and actually give that session your all. That's where you're going to get the best results in the gym. Later on, if you do find that you hit a plateau, what you can do is add cardio as a tool. So you'd add 20 minutes to start with and then maybe 40 minutes, and you add it as a tool later in the diet. And then finally, the secret hack to exercise that everybody misses is just getting a hobby that you enjoy. So for me, that's golf. I go and walk 18 holes once a week, and that gets me an extra 25,000 steps in. For other people, that might be paddle, it might be hiking, it might be going to ride a horse, I don't care. But just make sure that you have a hobby that keeps you active, that you enjoy. That is a hack, because it doesn't feel like exercise. It doesn't feel like you're having to slave away on a treadmill or anything like that. When I'm playing golf, I'm just playing golf and I'm enjoying it. And if you can have a hobby like that, it makes things a lot easier. And look, here's the real secret. What we really want is to be able to keep the weight off, not just lose it and then regain it. So in order to do that, we need to experience real identity change. I need you to become the person that not only follows a plan, but actually becomes the person you need to be on a day-to-day basis. The person that goes to the gym without really thinking about it. The person that does a healthy shop, not because they're on a fitness plan, but because that's who you are. The person that prioritizes their sleep because you care about your energy in the next morning and how you're going to perform at work and what kind of father you're going to be. Not the person that is just on a strict plan. So look, if you want to become that person and you want to lose fat fast, I'm going to give you 4 weeks of free coaching delivered straight to your email inbox if you click the link below this video. So go hit that and you're going to get the exact plan that you need to lose your first 4 or 5 kg over the next 4 weeks. Not only that, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be delivering videos like this week in, week out to make sure that you can get in the best shape of your life, look, feel, and perform at your best no matter how busy you are. So hit that subscribe button, like this video, I'd very much appreciate it.